In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a Google Sheet that generates random cat images, and I'm going to use the cat API in order to do that. And so, first of all, looking at the website, the cat API, I will go to documentation. Now, actually, before I do that, let me mention that although it does say here to get an API key, you do not actually need to get an API key if you're going to use this in the most basic way that I'm using it here, which is simply just to pull up some image URLs. So I'll go over to documentation, and here are the URLs on the quick start that can be used to generate images. So this one, the first one, will generate just one. If you click on that, you'll see just one, right, being generated. And then the second URL, which is the one that we'll be working with, that will generate 10 images. Now, of course, these are not images, right? This is the JSON data, okay, for the images, which includes the IDs, the URLs, the width, and the height. If you want to see one of these individual images, you could, open it in the browser and see one of the actual images, right? So this is important to understand how the data is formatted so that we can go ahead and extract the data. Now, what I'm going to do, although I do have a full working version already of this, I'm going to actually start one from scratch so that I can show you how to actually do this. So I'll click New and Google Sheet and start a fresh sheet. Okay, now before I even get to the template here is very basic, right? It's just ID with height, URL and image. So that's very, there's not much to talk about there. Giving it a name is a great idea. I'll just do cat image API demo because this is more about understanding how to use it. So basically, what I'm going to do is just go into extension and app script and show you how to build this out. So now, okay, so the first thing is we need to actually call this URL, right, and get that JSON data that I showed you, and then we need to extract the data from it. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is create a function, and I'll just simply take out my function called get images, and this will get the JSON from that from their API. So first of all, I'll do var response. This is just the conventional thing that we do. Var response equals URL fetch app dot fetch, right? And then open parentheses. If you've never seen this before in AppScript, this is how you will pull whatever's behind a web resource, an API, URL, or a web page. Okay, you use URL fetch app, right? URL fetch app dot fetch, and I'll go get that URL over here and copy it. That pulls the 10 images. I get quotes. It has to go in quotes, of course. Paste it, and I've got to put a semicolon. So response, right, goes in there. Okay, now the response, we have to check and make sure that the response is good. So we have to use an if statement. If response.get response code is equal to, and I believe that's a function, get response code, so I have to put the parentheses, is equal to 200, which means it's a valid response, good response. Then I will return the response dot get content text, meaning I will actually pull the content from the response, which in this case is the JSON data for the images that I showed you before, right? So I'll extract that. I'll click save, make sure I have it. By the way, you can name, it's a good idea to name this. So I'll just put cat API rename. Okay, and that will return the JSON, right? So as you're building something like this, I mean, like I've built a bunch of these and like I already know what to do, but here's the thing, right? You want to see what you're actually doing. So what you do is you come back to the Google Sheet, equal get images, you type that in. There are no parameters to this function, so it's just parentheses, and when you hit enter, you see the JSON is produced, right? If you want, you can change this format if you want to see this a little better. Well, not really, but I mean, so you can see all of it. But you know, that's it, right? It's really just about knowing that it did in fact produce the intended result, which is we got the JSON for those images, right? So you always want to do that kind of test. You don't want to leave this in here because it'll keep running it, and they do have a rate limit. So okay, now the next thing is that I have to actually be able to extract from the images, right? And so I'm going to create individual functions for each. For instance, I want to get that, if I want to get the IDs out, I'll do get IDs, right? I like to just put my brackets down here. You may like your bracket up there, it doesn't matter, but function get IDs, okay, and you will be getting the IDs from the JSON, so I'll just put JSON in here. And so here I'm using a regular expression to do that. So I'm going to be grabbing all of the IDs at once as an array, so it will be an array. I already know that it's going to be multiple, so I'll just say var IDs equal right away, and I'll do JSON.match, right, and construct the regular expression, which is going to be that, you know, looking at this, all right, I'm going to look for this quote, ID quote, colon, and then there's a quote, and I'll just be looking for this, basically, to be preceding the ID, right? So I'll do match, right, look behind, and I'll just paste right in there what I expect to find. Okay, ID, yeah, so that, meaning I expect that to be in front, but I don't actually want it. That's why I'm using this, right? If you don't know regular expressions, you'll have to really look them up and learn them to understand this, but basically this is, you know, this means that this has to be in front, okay, of whatever we are looking for. You'll see an error here until you complete it at the end, okay, until you complete it that way. So that's why we're getting the error, okay? But I want to do this from left to right. So now we need to describe the actual thing. I just like to say not like, okay, this, and then the caret mark and a quote, which basically means return the characters that are not a quote, right? And then I'll put a plus, meaning multiple of, right, such characters. And then, right, we close up that regular expression with the /g, right, close the line with the semicolon, and that should, in fact, return the IDs. Okay, so this section, this means if you look, right, quote, and then the actual, you see that there are no quotes in the ID. So it will make sure to return, it will return everything until it sees a quote. When it gets to the quote, it'll stop. Okay, so that's what this part does. So that gives you the ID. So the way that you retrieve the IDs is exactly the same, or, well, very close to how you will retrieve the rest of it. But let's do, again, some verification here. I'm going to zoom up a bit. Equal get images, right? Get images, again, to get that JSON. And then I'll do equal get IDs, right? the JSON is the parameter to that function. And I want to make sure I'm actually getting the IDs out of here, right? Okay, so if I'm not getting IDs, I might have forgotten something. I might have forgotten to do something. Let me look at that again. Colon. What did I... If I'm not getting that, I might have... A2. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at my pre-existing code. I might have forgotten something. Let's see. ID colon. So just take a look at that. ID colon quote. Did I put an extra quote? ID in quotes colon quote. Have the caret mark plus G. Return IDs. Oh, I didn't return. I feel pretty silly. I forgot to put return IDs, and of course I have to return the IDs. Okay, right, and of course return the IDs, and now we see the IDs. Okay, so I was focusing so much on the regular expression, I forgot about just doing that. Now, because I don't want this to keep rerunning, I'm going to just copy this and paste special values so that it doesn't. So it's just text, right? So that I can just keep testing these on this. All right, I don't want to keep calling get images. All right, so that's it. I mean, that's how you get the IDs, and it's going to be the same thing for the rest of it. So remember, we have 4 things: the IDs, we have the URL, the width and the height. On my sheet, you notice that I did width, height, then the URL. I just wanted the URL next to the image, so I changed. I used that order. So that's just what I did, but doesn't matter. We can do URLs right now, just to keep it in order. It is the same. So first of all, I'm sorry. I feel like I did this without explaining. Being that it's the same, I'm going to just take this whole function, copy it, change the name to get URLs, right? And of course, I'm going to change IDs here to the variable to URLs. I mean, it would still work if I left it, but of course, I just want it to make sense, right? So URLs, and ID is not what needs to be here. The only difference is that it should say URL. If you look at this, the only difference is that it's URL instead of ID. That is the only thing I need to change, and this will return the URLs from that JSON data, right? Now I have to do the width and the height. Now those are a bit different, and we will have to modify the regular expression. It is going to be easier just to copy this whole thing instead of building it, typing it completely from scratch. And so I will change get URLs here to get widths, right, of that JSON, and get heights. Right now the widths will be going to get those width values. They are, where's the sample? Width, right? Very simple. In quotes, right? Width. And there is a difference. Let me look at that again, see if I remember what it is. Yeah, okay, so you see there isn't that other quote. See here it's ID colon and then a quote before the ID. Here it's width colon and then there's no quote before the width. So here there's no quote. Okay? No quote there, right? We just put it like that, width. Okay? Width. Now these, because they're numerical values, they're not surrounded by quotes. So this doesn't really make sense here anymore. So here, yeah, you might not actually need that. You can just, well, being that it's a number, you can just use 0 to 9. You could do that, 0 to 9. That will work, being that we know it's going to be a number. right? This means digits 0 through 9, right? Multiple characters, any number of characters. Okay, one string of characters of 0 to 9 will be returned, right? And I'll just, again, make the word here widths. And I'll copy this whole function and do the same thing for the height. Get heights as well. And var heights. And again, the word width has to be changed to height. So you see, it's just a matter of substitution here, just changing these words, because everything else about them is exactly the same when you look at this, right? The format is the same, it's just a different word. The word is height, okay? Now again, we should really test these, so down here, I'll do equal get URLs, meaning on the spreadsheet itself, open parentheses, the JSON, make sure that the URLs are coming out. The width and the heights, oh, what's going on there? And get widths as well. Whoops. Okay, I'm messing up a lot tonight. Okay, what did I do here? Keyboard, okay. Open parentheses. All right, there you go, get widths. Okay, beautiful, right? And then get heights on that JSON, and I should be able to get the heights from that. Height is not defined. Heights. Okay. All right, so it has to, the variable's heights, and I have height. All right. So I like to pluralize, when I'm doing arrays. I'm returning more than one, so I use an S, right? Heights rather than just height. Okay, so these are the widths and the heights of these different images. These are the URLs, right? Now, again, my URL is over here. I mean, we can always, and that's easy to, I can just switch this around if I prefer this order. I mean, that's easy. All right, I'll just take this whole thing, highlight it, and just kind of drag it over here. Now, for the actual image, to actually see the images, I decided to actually type them straight into the actual spreadsheet. You could put them in here, programmatically later. But it's just, I can get the images in here right away using equal image. All right. Like manually typing in the formula. It says you must allow access. And, that way I can just get this image right away. But yeah, I could write code that's going to actually place the formulas there. But basically, I like, it's easy if I just have the formulas there already. And trying to make these images a bit bigger. I believe I have to expand these usually to do that. Right, so you've got to make, obviously the image can't be taller if the rows are not taller. Right, that's just, common sense. So the rows have to be wider. So I'll show you again in case you're not familiar. You highlight the rows by clicking into the actual number, like this number 13. You got to click into that number inside of it. Hold down that mouse button, just drag that mouse over those rows. Go inside here on the line in between, and you just pull like that, right? And that's how you do that. Okay, but you want to do them at the same time so that you're changing all of them the same way at the same time. Okay, so that's basically, right now at this point, we know that we're able to produce the JSON with the image data, and we know that we're able to extract the individual data elements or data points from that data, right? So that's really the first major thing. All that's left once you've done this is to actually make it more automated, where you can press a button, as I did, right? Simply pressing a button, it runs the API, pulls the image data, and actually prints the image data right down into the sheet, right? That is really the only part that's left. And so that is the other thing that I will show you how to do as well. So now for that, we're getting into kind of a different area, which is actually, understanding how to actually print onto the spreadsheet, how to access the spreadsheet itself, right, in code. So first of all, what we want to do is set up a template, as I did here, which this one is very simple, right? I'll just go ahead and retype it. So I'll delete all of this. I don't really need any of this anymore. I'll delete all of this, highlight that across, and I'll do it the same way I did it here, where I started on row 5. I put the column headings in here. Although really, no, you can do it here. I'll do it here. You could actually start here. So ID, width, height, and what's the other thing? Image URL, and finally that image is in here, right? Okay. So that we know where things are going. And then view freeze up to row 3. Why am I doing that? Because I want to make it that I can scroll down without losing these without the headings going off, right? Scrolling off. So this way I can see everything at once. Okay, that's very important for me to do that. Now, okay. So now we have to build, basically, I consider this to be a macro at this point, right? When I do anything where I'm actually, doing something onto the sheet, right? Physically printing data, I consider that basically to be a macro. So what I'm going to do, though, it is just another function. So I'll just go ahead and write the function. So it's function. What name did I use before? I would like to kind of use the same print images. Okay, that's it. Right, and I called it print images. I'll do that again. Print images. Sometimes I like to do these in all caps as well. It's not really a big deal, but sometimes I do. But for right now, I'll just put print images. Function print images. No parameters. It's a function that just runs. Okay, it can't have parameters because when I execute it with the button, it needs to be able to run. There's no input. Okay, so it cannot have parameters. Now, the first thing is we need to declare what sheet are we actually printing to. So a common convention is to use SS to mean spreadsheet. Okay, spreadsheet app is what is used to actually access these capabilities. Spreadsheet app dot get active spreadsheet. Okay, get active spreadsheet refers to the currently active spreadsheet. Okay, the whole Google Sheet, the whole thing. So understand, active spreadsheet means this whole Google Sheet. Okay, so now we have to specify, well, which sheet, because you can have multiple sheets on one Google Sheet. Get active sheet means the sheet you're on right now. Now you could also activate the sheet by name, like tell it to refer to a certain sheet with a certain name. The reason why I'm using get active sheet in this case is because I know that I'm going to attach it to a button, and that when I press the button, I know that I have to be on this sheet in order to press the button. So I know that this sheet is going to be active at that moment that I press the button. I'm going to be on the sheet. So I don't really need to give the name of the sheet because of the way that I plan to use the function. So I can just say get active sheet for this and keep it simple, right? And that's fine for this example, right? So I'll just do get active spreadsheet, get active sheet. Okay, fine. So now what do I need to do? Well, first of all, I need to now go ahead and get the images, and I will get those images and actually store them. And I'm talking about the JSON. So remember, get images really gets image JSON, right? So I'll call it JSON again. And so var JSON equals get images, which means just go ahead, grab those images from the API, that image data, store the JSON for those images. And then I want to go ahead and extract the data, the IDs. Okay, I'll do each one into a separate array. So I'll do IDs as get IDs. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those IDs out. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out those URLs as well using get URLs. It's the same thing, right? These are parallel, what we call parallel arrays, because there are the same number of IDs, the same number of URLs, width and height. They're all the same. So they're parallel arrays. All right, they will have the same amount of data. All right, so we don't have to be concerned about the size. Okay, we know that they have the same size. Right. So first of all, the JSON, I will separate that because I want to like kind of make it clear that it's kind of separate, right? These are all doing the same thing. Just save it. So now I've got basically exactly what I pulled into the sheet before when I did get IDs. I have a list of IDs, a list of width, heights, right, and URLs inside these arrays, and I need to get them printed out onto the sheet. So, okay, how do I do that, right? So what I'm going to do is jump right in to iterate in the array using a for loop. The first index of the array, of course, is 0. So I have to start with I equals 0. The last, right, furthest I can go is, now these, as I said, these arrays are parallel. Therefore, IDs.length, that is, right, how long the array is. That is the same for all of these arrays. So I can use ID.length, I++, to iterate through the array each time, and right, to iterate each index. All right, and now as we're moving through the arrays, moving through one, index to the other, we need to be printing this data onto the sheet, right? So ss.get range is how we do that. Wow, sorry, I'm having a lot of keyboard issues here today. So ss.get range, and I already, okay, first of all, I'm doing it, I have to do it column by column, so I'm doing column A right now, okay? And just for visual reference, column A stores the IDs. So I'm going to do A, but A what? A1, A2, right? Which row am I doing? Well, the thing is, the rows are going to change because we're going to iterate downwards here, move downwards. So I'm going to use a variable that I haven't created yet called row. Okay, I'll go back and make it, declare it. So A plus row, so A, row, whatever that is, 5, for instance. And I'm going to simply set the value in that cell to IDs, index I, right? And that will set, that is the width, the ID, if you need a reminder. Okay, that's the ID, right? Then I have to continue doing that for each one. Now, first of all, what is row? Okay, well, row is a variable, and I've got to declare it before the loop. So I go back here, I say, okay, I need row, var row equals, the first row that I will print to is row 4. Therefore, I must declare row to be an integer equal to 4, right? Then when I proceed with the loop, right, it, has a value, right? Each one is exactly the same. So that's why I keep using copy and paste, so I don't have to retype things from scratch. B, in row B, what goes in B, okay? The width, right? That's the way that I decided to organize it, right? So I've got the widths, right? And then I've got to copy and paste again. And then I've got the heights. And then I've got to paste it again. And I've got the URLs. Okay, it's all the same. And of course, these are not IDs. Okay. Right? So that's how we print out each column, and that's A, B, C, and D. And now for column E, since we're using that image formula, we could just leave the formula in here and just make sure not to erase it. All right. But because that is a possibility that, you know, like if you're making this for other people to use who might not realize that they're deleting a, you know, formula, you might want to actually add a formula in there. So I did not do that, but you know what? I'm going to do it for this video. I'll go ahead and do that. So ss.getRange e. So this will be different from the others. Dot plus row. To put a formula in, we'll do set formula, and the formula is equal image, open parentheses, D, right? Image of D, but the row will be different each time, so we have to say plus row, as I did with the get range, right? Because the row is not always the same, so it's D4, D5, so on and so forth. So that comprises the formula, the image formula, right? So I've set that formula into the cell. This ensures that the formula will be there when I execute the print images. Where if I put it on the spreadsheet, of course, someone could delete it potentially, right? They might delete it. So, you know, just to make sure, I'll delete it. And, oh yeah, and I have to close the parentheses here as well, right? Because there's a parentheses at the end of that formula. I don't like when this happens. Yeah, got to be careful of that. So save your work constantly on AppScript, because sometimes Google does stuff like that. See, so I just lost the last thing I did, you see. And had I done a lot and lost it, that would be a real shame. So you don't really want that to happen. Make sure you're constantly saving this. All right. Okay, so there's nothing to return here because this is a macro. It's just doing actions. All right, it's not, you know, returning any value or anything. And okay, so now to test this, we test it right in here. You go up to the top and you select print images, the name of the function, and you simply, well, first of all, save this, and you simply run it. And oh wait, it might not actually. Well, for one, I have to authorize it, but also because of the active sheet, I'm going to have to make a button. Now, the first time you run it, it's going to say authorization is required. So you will have to review permissions, and select your account, advanced, go here. Okay. Even though I'm writing the code on my own account, you see how it's telling me that I need to be careful of, you know, of this and that. And so you have to kind of just ignore this, right? And just go ahead and continue running your code. So it's not going to run because I can't do the active sheet from inside here. Okay, the active sheet is here. I have to run it from here. So what I'll have to do now is create a button. Okay, so I'm going to expand this so that it's bigger at the top. Okay, and then I'm going to insert drawing. Okay, insert a drawing and a text box. Okay, I go here, draw a text box, and I'm going to put what is it? Print images or get images or now I know yeah. So sometimes the name I on the button, sometimes I prefer a different name. I try to use things because all the Google, basically many of the Google Sheets I made were for other people to use. I've been distributing for like 5 years. Sorry, I'm doing all this without explaining. So I try to use names that people will understand right away. So yes, you do have to adjust this. You can put a nice font, you can put a nice color, solid color in there, bold it. You can even, color the text if you wish or whatever. All right, get images like that, and just save it and right click it to move it, and that's it. Now, the button needs to be attached to this print images. So take print print images, copy it, go back over to the button, you click the dots on the button, you go to assign script, you paste into the button the name of this macro, you click OK, and that's how you get the images, right? That's how you attach the macro print images to the get images button. And then when you click on get images, you should be able to get images, all right? But let's see, sometimes you do things and something's not right and you thought it was, so let's see what's wrong here. All right, Jason is getting, oh yeah, so I'm really sorry about this because totally forgot to put Jason as the parameters to these functions. These functions have parameters, okay? They receive the JSON from the images and then they extract the data. So each one has the JSON parameter. All right, so sorry that I did forget that. I prefer that things are done in the moment, but sometimes that, when you're coding, that can happen. And so you just need to go back and correct things. All right, so now get images, and you will see everything just come out. And if something's not working, then I have to go back now again. Row. So another thing that is missing here inside the loop, each time that we print the data, right? Think about it. Row starts at 4, right? As we're running the loop, we can't just keep printing to 4, so I've got to do row plus plus. Each time the row needs to advance, so I think that's what was causing the error, but let's see. So I'll do get images again, yeah. And so yeah, that was causing the error, and so okay, so here we are now. Here are the 10 images, and you see the data for the images, and you see the images, all right, cats. Now, keep in mind that every time you generate these images, they're going to be different. So if you really like the images that you see in front of you, you're going to need to save these. So you might want to copy these and paste them to another sheet somewhere. Okay, the URLs, or you could just even copy paste the whole thing. Okay, so something to keep in mind. And then the only other thing is clear images. Clear images is very quick and easy to do. I'll show you that so that we just can conveniently clear the data without having to highlight it. But then we'll have to create another button. But that's fine. I want to make sure I do everything that I did on my original. So clear images, right? And to clear images, plain and simply, what you're going to do is exactly what you did here. Declare a spreadsheet, but it's way shorter than that. And then all you have to do is do get, because all you have to do is get range, which is what, D, A, 4, starting here, A4 all the way over to E and all the way down. So basically A4 colon E. Take that whole range, select that whole thing, and just clear content, right? Just get rid of it. That's it. You just clear it out. That's all it does, okay? So you just selecting that range and clearing the content. Very simple. Clear images. I'll very quickly create a button for this. Insert drawn. I'm going to do this fast as this video is already quite long. But this is about the amount of time it takes to make something of this nature. And clear images. All right. So clear or delete or whatever. Could even have said delete. And where's my text? 3 dots, bold. All right, use the 3 dots, of course, to get more options. And just kind of adjust this. Okay, right there. I want to fill this in a hard red. This is just, I always like to make my delete things almost kind of like a stop sign, like a warning, like, type thing. So I always use the red background with white. Anything that deletes, I tend to use that color. All right, so clear images, delete images. Again, assign script and the name of the script that goes with that copy and just paste it and click OK. And that's it. You have a clear images function. Click clear images, and that's it. The images are gone, right? So again, remember to copy the images if you want to keep them, build another sheet. You could even just add another sheet here if you want and copy and paste them here. I didn't save mine, for instance, just now. And of course you want to just CAD images or something. Name the sheet down here so you know what it is. And then maybe here you want to say like, saved images or something like that. And you can just copy and paste them. Can we build a macro? Well, first of all, let me click get images again, make sure I get my images back. Okay, so can we build a macro to save these, to take what's on here and append it onto here and like build a database right in here using an append button that will just, yeah, sure. That's can be done. I won't do it today, right now here in this video. But yeah, you can do that, right? But basically, what you'll do is just copy and paste, for now, right? You'll just, if you like these, you just copy them and, I'll just kind of build a table over here, paste them. And next time you copy them, you can start from here so you don't have the heading twice. You'll just keep copying and pasting at the bottom and kind of build, if that's something that you want to do. And that is it. I mean, that's the entire thing. All right. So basically, as you can see, if you're just going to generate some images, in this case, 10 images at a time, you don't actually need an API key and to get into more complicated usage of their API. However, if you do want to be able to pull more data, I know I saw some more advanced examples somewhere down here, so there's more data that you can get from the CAD API when you have your API key, as you can see. There's like there's just more data that they have. So I haven't used it beyond this point, but so if you want to get the API key and go further, you can do that. But if if you're just trying to do as I did here, just generate a few images and then use them somewhere else, that's enough. And in the general demo of this tool, I also demonstrated that you can use Imager, the site, to actually make your URLs into posts, so that if you go to a site like X, you can actually post the images where the images actually show up. And so maybe I'll just take one quick minute to demonstrate that really quickly, so you can okay, I mean, this is easy to figure out, this site, once you get here, and you go to post, you just click new post, and once you have your image URL, I'll just do it. You just paste it. Okay, it creates a post. You get this link, and this is the actual post. Just want to quickly show you the difference, because if you take this link and copy it over to, say, like X, and you post it, the original image URL, you will only get the URL, and that's it. But if you use the Imager URL and you copy their URL in here and post, you'll get the actual image. Okay, you're not seeing it right now. Let me demo that completely. Let me completely demo that for you. If you take this original image URL and you were to post it here, that stuff keeps coming out. Okay, if you post it, see, you get the URL but not the image. But if you use the Imager, their URL that I just generated with the post, and you post that, then you click post, you get the actual image in the post. Okay, it's just not shown right now, but you'll get the image will come through. Sure why it's shown like that, but all right, so you get the actual image in the post. I may have to refresh it. Sometimes when I post on X, it does that. At first, the image will come out as a box, and then it'll show up later. So, but you see that the image is there. Okay, so that's the difference between, URL and the image. Okay, so I'm going to delete that because it doesn't fit to the personality of my page. But okay, so that is really it. That's the process. That's the whole thing. I just wanted you to see that difference with posts and URLs. And so, yes, you can get this full system. I have the system posted, so you can go ahead and get a copy of the system. They'll have all the code and everything in it that I just did, of this Google Sheet, I should say. And there should be, I believe I should end up providing 2 links to get this. One will be like a direct link where you can just go straight to the Google Sheet for people who don't necessarily, want to do the email thing. But if you don't mind sharing, using your email, you can actually subscribe and get it that way, where it gets emailed to you, and then you also get updates in the future of whatever, because I have done, a lot of stuff. This even besides what you might see on this channel. I've got all kinds of things I've done over the past 5 years, a variety of things. So if you want more information on that and to be emailed from me, to receive emails, you can subscribe that way. So both links will be there. You can use both if you want. But yes, one will be a direct link that will take you to the actual sheet itself. And then the other way, you subscribe and it gets sent to you, basically. Okay, so those are the 2 ways that you can receive this, and that is about it. So look, just check the description of the video again for links. Look around the channel, see what else is there. I may even have some contact information. I should have contact information as well. Video, so whatever, contact me, watch the video, get the code, get the sheet, use the sheet, and that's about it. I'm Mr. Mark, and I look forward to seeing you around in another video.